guys. I'm going to read from you from Zero Day. We are on chapter 32. I'm sitting in the middle of my front room office on Sunday evening. Spent a wonderful day with my family. It's my birthday today, so I'm an old fart, but we had a really good time. Went and got some breakfast somewhere special, and then did a little celebration by doing some shopping, my favorite thing to do. And then we wrapped it up with a really delicious dinner. And my youngest son made my birthday cake, so it was pretty cool. Hope you guys had a good weekend too, and I hope to hear about some of it tomorrow. So, chapter 32. The next day after school, Addie sat in the president's study. Her laptop was open on the coffee table, but she was staring past it at the televisions on the wall, where live news coverage of the White House press conference was underway. President Webster stood at the podium, flanked by American flags, the White House emblem displayed on the blue wall behind his head. He addressed the room full of reporters, but looked straight at the camera. "Thank you for being here today," he said. "As you know, we have been pursuing leads in the recent attacks on our nation's capital, carried out by a group calling themselves Cerberus. The proprietors of these attacks believe they could use fear tactics to chip away at our core values. But they will never win. Today, I'm pleased to announce we've made a significant breakthrough in our investigation with the arrest of an individual linked to the cowardly attacks at the Reagan International Trade Center." Addie sat up straight. "An arrest?" A murmur worked its way through the crowd of reporters. Questions began to erupt from the front row. "Mr. President, how were you able to identify the suspect? Mr. President, can you give us the name? What is the alleged attacker's background?" "Jonathan, we'll get to your questions in a moment," the president said, nodding towards the press secretary. "But first, I'd like to introduce FBI Director Justin Linster, who, with the help of local law enforcement, apprehended this suspect this morning as he attempted to board a plane to Mexico at Reagan International." Annie took several deep breaths through her nose as President Webster moved to the side and Lassiter took the podium. He placed a sheet of paper on top. "Thank you, Mr. President, sir," he said, and he began reading from his note. "At 10:26 this morning, we apprehended Tyler Randall, 19-year-old and of no fixed address, in connection with the attacks on the Republican fundraiser at the Reagan International Trade Center. Mr. Randall has been positively identified as the employee who was seen fleeing the room just moments before the artificial bomb detonated. Mr. Randall is now in custody and is being questioned. His laptop has been sent to the FBI forensics unit to extract any data that can be led to other members of the Cerberus organization." He stopped reading and then he cleared his throat. "We believe today's arrest marks a significant turning point for the investigation into these attacks and expect more developments to be forthcoming. Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to speak and to the members of the press for being here today." The director folded up his paper, stuck it in his suit pocket, and stepped away from the podium with a nod. Press Secretary Jonathan Waite moved behind it. "Thank you, Director Lassiter," Wade said, and he turned to address the reporters. "I am happy to answer any questions you may have at this time." A reporter with long black hair in the front row raised her hand. "Yes, Anne?" Wade then said. "Thank you," she answered. "Do you believe that the suspect in custody, Mr. Randall, is tied to all three attacks? And if not, do you believe he can lead you to the people who are responsible?" Waite nodded. "Yes, we have good reason to believe Mr. Randall played a key in the Cerberus organization, and based on what we've learned from him so far, we expect more arrests will be forthcoming." More murmurs and hands being raised. Wait gestured at another reporter. Addie squinted at the TV in disbelief. The man stood. So, does the administration believe that the threat has passed? I believe we have Servius on the run, Wait then responded, and it's just a matter of time before we dismantle the entire organization. Addie couldn't take it anymore. She flicked off the television. There was only one person who held all the power, and he would never let himself be known to someone like Randall. She sucked in a deep breath and considered making contact, but suddenly it felt too risky. So she walked into the hall where Christmas was perched with Christina, where Christina was perched like a sentry. Addie didn't think she'd ever get used to dragging a Secret Service agent with her everywhere she went. At least it wasn't forever. Hey, Christina, she said. How's it going? Um, Alvarez then answered. Good, Addie said. How long till I'm expected upstairs? We've got just about an hour, Alvarez said. Enough time for a run? Addie asked. Yeah, sure, Alvarez said. We can hit the track. Oh, Addie said. I was sort of hoping we could go somewhere more interesting instead, like the tidal basin or maybe the mall. I'm starting to feel a little cooped up in here. Sorry, Alvarez then said, taking a little more planning to do an off-premise run. We can't have you just out there in the open without proper protection in place. Oh, of course, Addie could only imagine. The Secret Service would probably have to shut down all of DC just so she could take a jog. The track it is, she said. Beats the treadmill. Addie changed, and she and Alvarez exited through the glass door of the Oval Office onto the south lawn. A quarter-mile track circled the grounds, weaving its way between the gardens and trees, passing the tennis courts and swimming pool. Addie extended each leg one at a time and stretched her hamstrings. She sucked in the breath of spring air and she raised her arms over her head, leaning from side to side. Okay, so maybe she wasn't a running path along a river, through the woods, or a sandy beach, but it would have to do. See ya, Addie said, and with a little salute, off she went from Alvarez. Alvarez nodded. Enjoy your run. Addie took off, feet flying and arms pumping. She had never been good at starting slow. Within minutes, her heart was pounding and sweat was beating on her neck, but she didn't let up. Soon, the endorphin rush would kick in. Her ragged breath would yield a runner's high, and Addie would feel truly alive. As she rounded her first lap, it occurred to Addie that her running skills might look a little too good for someone who'd been locked up for 8 years, so she slowed her pace and let her mind go blank. 3, 4, 5 laps. Addie listened to the birds chirping. The White House became a colorless blur, then melted into the blue sky. Just another cloud drifting along the horizon. As Addie circled the track on its 8th and final time, she paused by the east exit, inspecting the tall wrought iron gate that kept the world out. Or did it lock her in? She wasn't sure anyways. For a split second, she wondered how high she'd need to jump in order to clear it. One good running start, and she could fly right over it. The muscles in her calves twitched as she remembered the last fence she had jumped. Security had been terrible at the airport. The place was utter chaos, a jumble of people and luggage all clogged around customs, carts banging into each other, babies screaming. Addie had sailed through the lobby and right out the front door before anyone had realized that she was gone. But there had been nowhere to go. The ocean was on all sides, endless sky above. She had stopped, surrounded by infinite blue. She was 12, alone. As she stared out at the ocean, she'd wondered if freedom smelled like the sea, all salt and fish and sun. If waves could cradle you in their arms and sweep you away somewhere safe. But just then, a seagull had screeched overhead, startling her, and in that plaintive wail, she heard the sounds of Mikey's screams as the belt hit his skin. That was the moment she knew she couldn't do it. There was no escape. There never would be. The waves would only crush her until her lungs were filled with water and she could no longer breathe. So she had turned around and run straight back to the man she called father. No, she didn't call him father. In that moment, she knew it was useless to try to deny it anymore. He was her father, and nothing would change that fact, no matter how far she might go. Addie was jolted from her thoughts by the sound of someone yelling her name. Addie! Addie! Get down! Addie turned around to see Alvarez running straight towards her, gun drawn, arms and legs pumping double time. Addie froze. I said get down, Alvarez yelled again. What? Did Alvarez think she was trying to escape? Was she getting ready to shoot her? But before Addie could even process what was happening, the Secret Service agent was on Addie's back, knocking her flat to the ground. Something whooshed overhead. Addie looked up to see what looked like a child's toy airplane fly directly over them and skid to a stop in the grass beyond the track. Alvarez shouted into her mouthpiece, We've got a breach! Drone on the south lawn! Unknown weather device is armed. Alvarez grabbed Addie's arm and she pulled her to her feet. Let's go, she said, not even giving Addie time to wipe away the gravel lodged into her palms. They sprinted across the lawn as Secret Service agents rushed out of the White House in the direction of the drone. Just then, the device exploded, sending a twist of blood-red smoke into the sky above. Addie screamed. The Secret Service agents just stopped in their tracks. Their earpieces buzzed, but instead of messages from the central office, a different voice broke into the communicators. You have been warned. There they are again, making their warnings. That was chapter 32.